There are a few things as disappointing to me as the fight between Grievous and Obi-Wan, and I'm glad you liked my idea. Honestly, yours isn't so different from how I pictured it. I would have had Grievous up on the balcony with Kit Fisto and Plo Koon preparing to engage Dooku and like arrest him. And at that moment, I would have had a pod launched by the Geonosians, leaving a small crater in the middle of a circle of another 5 Jedi, including Ki-Adi-Mundi and Shakti and Aayla Secura and two, nameless Jedi that would like die in the fight, and then like a moment of unease, and then the pods would open, and as Dooku would say as it opens to Mace, he would go, "Is that fear I sense in you, Master Windu?" I can't do an impression of Christopher Lee, but yeah, and as Mace turns to retort, Grievous steps out and readies himself for battle. That would have been just nuts, that would have been great. And having one of the nameless Jedi move in to take him down, only to be impaled by a lightsaber, the last weapon he'd expect from a droid. Grievous catches the fallen lightsaber and engages the other 4 Jedi. That would have been great, dude. Then Mace runs towards the battle with Kit Fisto and Plo Koon, while Shakti and Ki-Adi-Mundi, they fight with Grievous, and then by the time Mace and Plo Koon get over there, two, nameless Jedi are already dead, and Grievous is when he's silent and menacing without saying a single word, he ignites 2 more lightsabers after revealing his arms. That would have been badass. And then the real fight begins. I mean, that's just my own personal, dream sequence. That would have been awesome.
Very good, very, very cool. What I found probably the most disappointing was his voice. In Clone Wars, he's got that robotic, grinding, almost wet noise when he walks, which was taken out for Revenge of the Sith. But his voice is what I miss the most. In Clone Wars, he has that robotic buzz of a voice, but in Revenge of the Sith, he's got that deep, throaty voice, which isn't bad, but I would have preferred the other. I'm glad that the CGI Clone Wars is treating Grievous with relative respect. I think that I caught a glimpse at the synopsis of an upcoming episode where Grievous tortures a Jedi, which I think was missing in Revenge of the Sith. But overall, Grievous from Lucas's point of view is a half-assed attempt at a villain that echoes Vader. It's the expanded universe that gives the character heart.
Dude, I mean, those exact words have been using. I've been using those same words since Revenge of the Sith came out. Seriously, I'm a little shocked at your phrasing. It's identical to my thoughts. It's kind of weird, but yeah, I mean, same here. Grievous represents the quote-unquote poetry Lucas often speaks of when he's making these films. And honestly, I believe that Lucas has deluded himself into thinking that his cheap attempts to involve greater themes and capture the attention of those who are asking for larger stories are effective, and they're not. I mean, he fails to take into account, for instance, just for one instance here, for one example, you look at why does Grievous cough, he fails to take into account that some people who go to the theater might not have seen that cartoon, And so they're going, wait, did that robot just cough? They're going to be confused, and needlessly so. I mean, when he could just stick in a line in the film and say, well, Mace Windu crushed his chest some time in the past. I mean, that's all he needs to do. The dude can't write. But, yeah. I mean, he's a coughing robot with lightsabers. That sounds an awful lot like a certain Sith Lord with respiratory issues that we're all familiar with, doesn't it? Just a poetic reference to Vader, or a cheap attempt at characterization with the real purpose being of the entire endeavor being to sell millions of dollars worth of merchandise to slack-jawed children's parents with expendable income. You be the judge. Sadly, Grievous isn't the only half-assed thing about the prequels, not by a long shot. I've not been paying too much attention to the Clone Wars series, but I thought the movie was frighteningly bad, and it was so campy. I nearly questioned my own sanity after I came out of the theater with that one. But I mean, I really wanted my $10 back for seeing that. I've never been so disappointed about any movie before. However, several of the episodes they look, surprisingly good considering what the movie was. So I'd be willing to give it a new chance. I'm particularly happy that they involved Jedi other than Obi-Wan and Anakin because I get enough of them in the movies, to be honest.
I would highly recommend the Clone Wars. I think you'd like it. Sometimes I think Lucas comes up with characters such as Grievous with a one-track mind. George Lucas isn't Star Wars anymore. It's in the hearts and minds of the fans and the creators of the shows. And to go back to my previous thing I said, even original, and I use the word original loosely, like Vader and the Rancor, seem very impulsive. It's only until later, Empire, Return, etc., that they are more flushed out. In all honesty, I want to see more of Grievous in the Clone Wars, maybe even comic books. Although I don't read comics much, but I don't want him to become the main thing about the prequels, but just his situation, a reconstructed cyborg, is interesting and it needs to be expanded to grow, which sadly it really hasn't. I was having a conversation with another Star Wars fan, not as much as us, but still alright. He gave an idea that the original Star Wars trilogy, after that was done, the prequels shouldn't have been made in any chronological order, but it should have spanned thousands of years, i.e. go 200 years after number 6 or even thousands of years before 4 to the KOTOR ages. And I don't think that's not that bad of an idea, but it's too late now. Sometimes I wish that I could erase the time when the prequels were made and they weren't, bad. Having the prequels just as good as 3 would have been fine, I guess. Also, I think the lame attempts Lucas made to tie 1, 2 and 3 to a 4, 5 and 6 were surprisingly detrimental, and I've mentioned this many times with my friends that the prequels are just answers to questions nobody asked, like Jabba, Jango, Anakin's birthplace, Thanks to The Empire Strikes Back, the Emperor has become one of the most intriguing characters, and it would have worked better if it was just about him, his story.
I have a recommendation for you. Since you like the idea of setting the prequels in a different time period, you should check out the first volume of the Star Wars Legacy comic series. It takes place 125 years after Return of the Jedi, so it centers itself around the life of a distant relative of Luke Skywalker's who, like so many other Skywalkers before him, walks a fine line between light and dark. It's the same old story. But he's learned to use the dark side of the Force in conjunction with his own unique healing ability. It's pretty cool. And so meanwhile, a completely altogether different order of Sith Lords than the ones Palpatine had in the films, they've taken control of the galaxy, and it's up to like a ragged little group of desperate heroes to sort out the pieces. And the top Sith Lord in charge is really sick, and he sends out like his forces to find the last Skywalker in the hopes of using his new dark healing ability to cure him, and so he'll be able to live on and bring his empire to fruition. It's really great stuff.